You might be able to tell by the lighting change. I have gone through a stop and a freeway interchange and the toll booth I mentioned. Yeah, so I'm gonna wrap up, maybe tell a couple more, and call it a day, because I was almost done with that one, which would have been a real natural place to stop, but I don't want to tack on like a 30-second video. So my Tiefling War Cleric asked for bags of holding, and when we got into the hatchery, he bagged up as many eggs as he could, because he was just going to steal them. And then they teleported out through a gateway, and that's where that chronicle ended. Then there was, we had two that I want to do. I like to create characters that are tough to play, and a lot of times I like to talk, and I'm verbose. I know this comes as a complete surprise to everybody who might be watching this 20 plus minutes into the stories. So because I usually end up being the face of the party, or at least talking a whole lot for the party, of late I've been trying to challenge myself to characters who don't talk or won't talk. So there was a D&D game that we ran, that we played, where I was like, DM was starting us at level 5. I said, okay, here's what I want to do. I want you to randomize a career that my character used to have. And the character did that career up to level 4 when something went horribly wrong, and the character vowed never to use that class again, and then multi-classed, or dual-classed, I think it's dual-classed, over to a second career, which is what she does now. And she was a gnome. I think we randomized she was a gnome, and since gnomes have a proclivity for being bards, her new level 1 career was a bard. And so when she joined the game, she was missing half of her left arm. The left side of her face was badly scarred, and she wore a hood most of the time. There is a gnome racial weapon, which is essentially a grappling hook. And so since a bard needs a musical instrument of some kind to focus their abilities, I asked the DM if I could make the grappling hook into her weapon, like hollow it out and put notches in it like it was a recorder, but it would change pitches when she swung it. So her combat style was this dance fighting where she would spin the grappling hook and the chain that was attached to create tones that she would hum along with. And the DM liked that idea, so we went with that. And he said, and you've nerfed this character so hard that I'm going to make it magic. And I was like, okay, cool. That was fine with me. And I had no intention of ever using her original class. Look at that. Woo! Almost to Chicago. No intention of using her original class until some climactic moment where she could whip out what else she could do. Because her original class was Sorcerer, and that was randomized as well. So she knew that if she needed to, she could whip out a fireball. But she had been cocky in her youth, go figure, and she had gone hunting a dragon by herself, and the dragon had bitten off half of her arm and was responsible for the scarring on her face. I think it was a breath weapon that did it to her, but I don't remember if we ever decided what color dragon it was, and therefore what breath weapon it would have been. So yeah, it was my first level gnomish bard in a 5th level campaign, and I was really fond of that character. I liked her a lot. I wanted to back up because the first game I remember Alex playing with us, and if I'm wrong, he should correct me, was a D&D game that James ran for us. And it was the game where my character, it was like D&D 3.5, and it was all about daily stunts and encounter stunts, and so I was playing a character called a warden, and he had Thunderstep, which is a short-range teleport. And so there was a point where we encountered another dragon story. We encountered a young dragon, I think it was a young black dragon, and my character Thunderstepped on the back of the dragon, and held on and rode the dragon for the rest of the encounter until a combination of him stabbing it in the back and the rest of the party attacking it head on were able to dispatch it. Then later in the game, we fought essentially a robot minotaur and an automaton minotaur, and Alex decided that he had liked the Thunderstep jump on the dragon so much that he tried to climb the automaton minotaur, and he had to be like 10, 12 years old, and so it wasn't a tactically sound choice. Alex was, not the minotaur. It wasn't a tactically sound choice, but Alex was like, that was cool, I want to do that. And so his character got pummeled pretty badly, if I remember right. Then there was a room that had a ceremonial dagger on the other side of the room and a waist high. The room was waist high with something that looked like blood. And I know the encounter was designed, because this is the automaton minotaur encounter. The encounter was designed for us to cross the room and pick up the ceremonial dagger and hilt that we were after, and then the automaton was supposed to come out of the blood, preventing us from leaving. But my character had Unseen Servant as a spell, so I used the Unseen Servant to retrieve the knife. And so the fight with the Minotaur was optional. And I still remember the look on James's face when he realized that I had circumvented the entire encounter. And I just have a tendency to do that. I have a tendency to look at scenarios from a tactical standpoint and find a solution that isn't what the scenario called for or what the DM expected. I've been told before that you talk when you're supposed to fight and you fight when you're supposed to talk. This is the last one I'm going to do today, and then I'll pick up with some more stories next time, but this is like a character encyclopedia. My kids, Alex and Katie, I don't know, I think they know this. I had D&D characters before either of them were born, that had their names, or close to their names, I should say. Alex, I had a drow thief magic user named Alexis Shaitan, and he had an owl for a familiar. I have a drawing of this character somewhere. So that's where one of my interests in the name Alex came from. And then I had a character named Caitlin O'Shea. Caitlin was spelled K-A-I-T-L-I-N. And I think in every D&D player's career, there is a point where you want to play a dragon that shapeshifted into a human. And Caitlin O'Shea was that character for me. She was a silver dragon that had been polymorphed into the form of a human and stuck there. Or she was half silver dragon or something like that. And so that's where one of my interests in the name Caitlin came from. So both of my kids have names that are, at least in part, derived from D&D characters I created. And I don't remember that either of them had a particular campaign. There were characters I created and then never really got to play in depth. And that happens to me a lot. Like the gnome bard, I played 1, maybe 2 sessions with her, and I love that character so much. I've created a couple characters recently that thus far have been one-shots, and I'm hoping I get to play again. because there's something about the characters I create that I just really like and want to get back to. Next time I'll talk about the group I joined recently, Anthony, Robert, Rebecca et al. I'll go back to when Anthony and I first played together, playing Mage. I think that was the first time. The Fate game we played recently, the D&D character I created with them. Yeah, let's just leave that there. That's a good place to stop. Almost Chicago. Less than an hour. Talk to you later. Peace.